Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of The Conversation. And today I got some pretty interesting topics for you guys. So the first topic is the real reason why the Clippers will be the most dangerous team by these playoffs when they begin. So that's what I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button because we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. And make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content so you don't miss anything. Also, if you haven't already checked out the Dreamerspro Podcast, we're going to link that in the description below on Spotify, and it should be up on iTunes shortly. So please make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. And let's get straight back into the content. So today, that's what I really want to focus on. And I think it's a real legitimate sort of topic for us to cover moving forward into these playoffs, simply because the NBA bubble has already been underway. And the Clippers have about 4 games under their belt. They've won 2, lost 2. They lost to the Lakers and they lost to the Suns, but they were able to bounce back against the Dallas Mavericks, who are most likely going to be their first round matchup. Now, in that game, I saw that the Clippers, they were able to show me some things that I didn't really see from many other teams. First of all, if we start to talk about the Clippers, before I even begin to start talking about their stars, we have to look at the fact that the Clippers are in the top 5 in offense, one of the top 5 defensive teams in the entire league. And what most people don't seem to understand about the Clippers, well, not most, some people who may not be picking the Clippers, is they just don't understand just how deep of a team they are. Now, let me start off with their stars. Okay, Kawhi Leonard, this season for the Clippers, he's averaging 27 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 4.9 assists. And he's having a fantastic year. He's only playing about 32 minutes a game, but he's shooting 46.6% from the field, 37.6% from the three-point line, and also getting you 1.8 steals a game. If we look at his running mate, Paul George, who many people seem to probably forgotten just how great of a player he is before he was injured. Paul George is a 6-time NBA All-Star. He's been on 5 All-NBA teams. In 2019, he was on the All-First NBA team. So he was the All-First NBA team for his position. He's been on, 4 All-Defensive teams, and he led the league in steals in 2019, and he is one of the most explosive scorers in the NBA. If you watch Paul George's game, he is really good at attacking the basket, but he's a fantastic three-point shooter. This season, he's averaging 21.4 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. But the thing to bear in mind is that he missed 20 of the first regular season games because he was coming off a shoulder surgery, and is one of the reasons why he missed training camp. But if we look at him in this NBA bubble, he's healthy, because prior to the pause in games, Paul George was also nursing sort of a hamstring pull, I think, that he had, an hamstring injury that he had. So he was in and out of the lineup for pretty much all of the regular season, right before the season shut down around sometime in March. But since he had this 4 months, like the rest of the NBA players, to sort of just rest up, you now see what a healthy Paul George looks like when he's playing with no pressure, playing with a Kawhi Leonard that's already a Finals MVP and is clearly the best player on that team. So you're seeing Paul George just blossom, and these are their 2 stars. And it's one of the things that makes them very lethal in the playoffs, and I'll tell you why. Because they have such a strong roster, such a strong complement of players that can put the ball in the hole. What this allows Doc Rivers to do is that it allows him to rest 2 of his stars. Essentially, he can actually sit Kawhi Leonard and Paul George during the same time at different spurts in the game, and therefore have enough of a scoring punch coming off the bench to allow them to keep generating points. And what this does, is that it gives them an advantage to also stay on the court together much longer. If you look at other teams, for example, the Lakers, it's very hard for them to take their best player off the floor. If they take off LeBron James and Anthony Davis, then things may happen. Then their bench, a lack of a strong bench, could cause them to get hurt or cause them to lose a lead that they already generated in a game, maybe in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, whatever it is. But if you look at the Clippers, they can sit 2 of their stars and still be able to come back. And in some cases, the bench can either maintain a lead or extend the lead, and then they bring both of their stars back in, and are able to play them at the same time, which is a luxury a lot of the teams in the NBA don't have. Another thing to bear in mind about these Clippers and why I believe that they will be the most dangerous team in the playoffs after they've been able to build a good amount of rhythm, because remember, guys, they have 8 games, is that the Clippers can play big and they can play small. If you sit down and really think about that, the Clippers can match up with pretty much any team in the NBA. For example, if we look at the Clippers before the lockdown when they played the Houston Rockets, they were able to beat them decisively. And they were playing them small ball at their own game. Now, some people may be asked, well, how is that possible? Because of their ability to switch on everything. And it's a philosophy that Doc Rivers is preaching to his team, which is make sure you can switch on everything because they have so many lethal perimeter defenders. Let's just go down the list. They have Patrick Beverley. They have Kawhi Leonard, they have Paul George, and they have Marcus Morris Sr. And then, of course, you have Montrezl Harrell. These guys can switch on anything. If they want to go big, they can go with Zubac. They can go with Montrezl Harrell at the power forward. They can go with Kawhi Leonard at the small forward, Paul George at the shooting guard, and Patrick Beverley at the point guard position. And he's the best point guard defender in the NBA, right up there with the Avery Bradleys of the world and Marcus Smarts and these guys in the world. So for me, they are loaded top to bottom. Depending on who they play with, they can match up with pretty much anyone. They can match up with the Lakers. They can go big, right? The Lakers also have to put players on the court. They can also be able to stay with their wing defenders. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people seem to be, not a lot, but a good amount of people seem to be worried about the Lakers with their lack of perimeter defense and their lack of ability to hit three-pointers. I think they're shooting something like 25% or so from the three-point line in this Orlando bubble, I think with 4 games under their belt. Now, some people may say maybe that's just them knocking off some of the rust, whatever it is. And we've seen that the Phoenix Suns have been the sharpest team in the bubble thus far. Not saying that the Phoenix Suns are on the level of the Clippers or any other team that's already in the playoffs, but you understand my point. So for me, moving forward, I think that they're going to wreak havoc in these playoffs because they can match up with anyone. They can go star power for star power. Their 2 stars, their tandem, can go out and get you 70 points between the 2 of them. The 2 of them can drop 35 points in the game. There was a game in the regular season where Kawhi Leonard and Paul George dropped 40 points each in the same game. And the thing that makes them so hard to guard is that they're scoring in different ways. Kawhi Leonard doesn't score the basketball in one way. He's not like a James Harden, who to me I think is a bit of a predictable offensive player. Needless to say, given the fact of the predictability of his game, you still have to stop him, and that's probably what's maybe the most impressive thing about him as a defender, as a team, as you're implementing your defensive schemes against a person like James Harden. For the fact that you know pretty much what he's going to do. You know he likes to go with his left hand. You know he's going to pull up for the step back 3-point shot. And he still ends up averaging 30 plus points a game for the regular season. But for Kawhi Leonard and these guys, Kawhi scores in a myriad of ways for the Clippers. He scores from the post, he scores from the mid-range, he scores from the 3-point line. He's a very good playmaker, which also is another threat on offense. And it's the same thing for Paul George. Paul George is a knockdown 3-point shooter. If you look at his 3-point shooting percentage this season, he's shooting 41% from the 3-point line. 41% from the 3-point line. He's almost shooting just as good from the 3 as he is shooting from the field. Shooting from the field 43.7%. So for me, I think the Clippers are going to be a nightmare for whoever they match up with, and they can match up with anyone. And that's why I think that they're going to be the most dangerous team in the NBA playoffs. So that's my opinion. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me that the Clippers are in fact the deepest team in the NBA, and they're going to be the most dangerous team by the playoffs, or do you think it's going to be another team? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.